Two guys either side of 50 with one dream to achieve middle-aged sporting glory. This is the Missing Links Golf Show. Andy Walker, welcome back. Pilgrims, welcome back. I'm Steve Hinks. Welcome back to the Missing Links Golf Show, episode 30.
Yes.
Andy Walker.
Yes. Episode 30. The big 3-0. Another decade.
It's crazy.
Crazy. It is.
30.
But it's been fun.
Yeah.
I've had fun.
Yeah. Of course you have.
I mean, it's
chat to me every week.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's not as good as shooting 2 under.
Oh, here we go. Yeah. How many weeks are we going to hear conversations about shooting 2 under par?
How long are we doing this podcast for?
Far out. I reckon this could go on for a little while.
Yeah.
That is gold. But 30 episodes, I feel like 30 episodes is a bit of an achievement. I mean, I know 25 episodes potentially you could argue was an achievement. 50 will be an achievement. That will be the Raise the Bat episode.
It's half a century.
Yep. And Pilgrims from non-cricket playing nations. My reference there is the tradition as a batsman when you reach a score of 50 or 100, that you raise the bat, acknowledge the applause from the crowd. So we will certainly be doing that on the 50th episode. We'll be, I'll bring cricket bat along onto that episode, I think, and we'll just sit there with it raised. Could get a bit tiring an hour in.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
It'll be good.
30 episodes, Andy Walker. Any highlights for you? Putting you on the spot now.
Yeah, you know, my favorite episode was a couple of weeks ago when I shot 2 under.
Come on.
You walked into that. You absolutely walked into that and just let me have the opportunity.
I can't even. I'm dead set can't even. That's so good. Not even rehearsed. Pilgrims, not even rehearsed.
I mean, I love the interviews. I have to admit, what we've learned through, Michael Leonard, John Weir, Josh Nichols, Neil Smith, David McCollum, Scotty Fisher, all the guys that we've interviewed, and we've over the next few weeks, we're going to be interviewing some pretty decent guests. So
we might give a little bit of a sneaky heads up at the end of this episode, but we're certainly not saying anything yet.
Yeah.
We might not as well. So if you get to the end of the episode and we don't tell you, then
oops. Yeah. But look, I really enjoy talking to people who, at this point in time know more than us, and it's not probably always know more than us, but let's face it. But just learning about the game, learning about the modern game. I mean, as we've covered a number of times, I played in an era which is very different to where we are now. A lot more stats driven, a lot more mental game driven, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying the change in approach. I actually find that it is suiting my analytical side a lot better, and I'm finding that just and I know it started with the John Sherman 4 foundations of golf, just that that course management and course strategy. I find, and the more we delve into it, the smarter it is. And I wish I knew the stuff. 30 years ago. I mean, I would have been such a better golfer than what I was. And and also the mental side of it. Obviously, we've now spoken to a number of guests on the mental game, and have really enjoyed that journey as well, and just looking at it from a number of different perspectives and grabbing things that suit me, and being able to grab those strategies and put them into my game. I found that really helpful. So what about yourself, Mr. Hinks?
so many parts. Like what I was thinking about this earlier today, and I really, really like the fact that we have called the show the Missing Links Golf Show, because what I genuinely feel has been happening, particularly as you talk about the guests that we've had on the show, is identifying the missing links to better golf.
Yeah.
That may sound like some kind of a trite self promo, but it it's absolutely true, and it's become more true, I think, than I expected it to be when we started the process.
Mm.
I certainly
Mm.
wouldn't have expected this far in, or this early in the process, that we would have had so many amazing people sort of just generously give their time to come and talk to us and share their expertise.
Mm.
And it has been amazing. Like, honestly, each of them has been different. Each of them I've absolutely taken something away from, many things from. I feel like we've actually also made a couple of really good friends out of the process. Obviously, a couple of guests were friends to start with, but there's others that we really did not know at all, but reached out online, and they agreed. And I feel like we've actually made some really, really cool connections out of that, like-minded people that are interested in playing better golf, learning more about golf, and helping other people play better golf, which is kind of part of what we want to do too. Not that we're so much helping people play other golf, but hopefully we're inspiring them to learn a few things out of our experiences, which, who knows, it's cool. I do think, if you've been listening to this show for the previous 29 episodes, then you would hopefully have learned something along the way that might have helped you golf. So there's that. But I'd also say one of my favorite parts of every episode is the voice of the pilgrims. I love
Ah, the Pilgrims.
getting some
Mm.
feedback from all you pilgrims out there. So if you're listening and you haven't got in touch with us, please do drop us a line. You can do it in a number of ways: direct email, the missing links golf show at gmail.com. Nearly forgot it there for a moment. You can also reach out to us via Facebook, the Missing Links Golf Show on Facebook, Missing Links Golf on Insta, or TML Golf Show on X, the artist formerly known as Twitter. Or there's the little fan mail button, send us a text message button
Oh,
on
yes.
the
Nice.
on the podcast now, that just above the show notes, that you could even click on there. So there's plenty of ways. Love to hear from you. Some of my favorites, there's probably two that stand out over the episodes so far before we get into tonight's Voice of the Pilgrims. But a couple that stand out, massive, massive fan of the epic sledging from Ted from Mollymook, and particularly his reference to, I can't remember the exact quote, but, if you don't do this, if you don't write down your goals, then you are pussyfooting around.
Mm. Yes,
That has definitely become part of the vernacular of this show.
for
In
sure.
fact, I feel like it's going to end up on a t-shirt at some point in the merch store.
Yep.
Um, no pussyfooting around. It's gold. That one. And also, I was a massive fan of, I think from memory, it was Leroy from Las Vegas who described this show as a very, very public midlife crisis that inspired
Mm.
the name of that episode. So we didn't disagree. I think
No,
we've agreed, we pretty much agreed with the Pilgrims at every step of the way. So that to me, I'm a mad fan of that. So yeah, there you go. It's been a lot of fun, as you say.
nice, nice. Well, speaking of pilgrims, so I do believe that
Mm.
we have a bit of uh
Few voices to hear.
few voices of the pilgrims.
We
So
do.
yeah, let's hear from the pilgrims.
Yeah, we do. Once again, the Pilgrims haven't missed. It's fair to say. So, and I like how you say, speaking of the Pilgrims, because Pilgrims, Andy and I are constantly speaking of the Pilgrims.
We
You
are.
mean you mean more to us than a lot of other things. Finish the sentence how you want to. Anyway, the first voice of the Pilgrim comes from a very, very good friend of the show, Paul from Sydney.
Oh
Uh,
yeah. Yep.
some may remember him as the dashingly handsome PE teacher. So Paul from Sydney says, loved the ball striking versus short game chat.
Mm.
I could smell a touch of stubbornness in the air on both sides.
Really? That doesn't sound like us, does it?
No. Paul, here's the thing. Okay. Um, it's important in this life not to be a fence sitter. and to take sides, and to have a point of view, have an opinion. Don't be scared to have an opinion, Paul. It's important. Um, the other thing, you don't always have to agree all the time. It's okay to have a difference of opinion. It's totally fine.
So,
So
so,
that
so, so, what about when you take the side of the argument that you don't necessarily agree with,
just
but
for
you
the
still
sake
are,
of the
but
argument,
you still argue for it anyway?
it's good content,
Do
or is
you
it?
feel, do you feel you've ever gone there?
No, I wouldn't do that. Sometimes I like to explore the other side of an argument just for the purposes of an intellectual exercise. Because if you just always agree with yourself and search out the same information all the time, then you're living a boring life. So sometimes it's a worthwhile exercise to try and argue the other point. It can be difficult, nevertheless. I
So it's what
think
they say about social media, isn't it? That it's the
it's
ultimate
it's
confirmation
an
bias.
it's an echo chamber. That's exactly right. Unless you get onto our channels, which are not echo chambers, because we have both sides of the argument.
Exactly.
So thanks for that, Paul from Sydney. The next one, this is a good one, actually. This is about our last episode, which was our bonus episode, Andy Walker, the first bonus episode. So
Nice.
really, this is not really the 30th episode. This is really the 29th plus a bonus, which makes it 30.
Mm.
So, of course, the bonus episode, the last one that we released, was our version of the awesome chat with Josh Nichols,
Yes.
which we were guests on his show
Yep.
originally a couple of weeks ago now, and we re-released that just with our own interpretation at the beginning and the end. And Pete, I don't know if Pete listened to this on our channel or Josh's. It's hard to know, but Pete from New York, Andy Walker, says, awesome chat with Josh. There's not enough honest conversations between guys like that one.
Yeah.
Totally
Yeah.
agree.
And I think we talked about that last week. Just and I use the word vulnerable,
Mm,
and a lot of people see vulnerable as weakness, whereas especially when it comes to emotion, being vulnerable does take a lot of strength. It takes a lot of courage to be able to be vulnerable with your mates. I mean, masculinity a lot of the time isn't seen as being vulnerable,
mm.
yet it is
It should be.
it's a huge part of your emotional well-being.
Absolutely. We're all going through the same stuff, at the end of the day, and talking about it helps. Um, and I think, definitely in Australia, I'm sure this is the case in other countries as well. Probably the US is not too different, and Great Britain is
Yeah,
probably not too different.
yeah, for sure.
Um, and probably in every country, in all of the now, I think 19 countries that the pilgrims stem from.
19. Wow.
Yeah, yeah, crazy. I would say there's similar things. That's probably why they're
Mm.
listening to the show.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So,
agree. And I do feel very fortunate that throughout my life I've found a number of mates that I can be vulnerable with, and I can have those conversations, and you can have hard conversations, and when you're going through tough times,
mm,
you're able to talk through it in an honest and vulnerable way. And I feel very grateful to be able to have those mates.
likewise, Andy Walker, likewise. I'm going to revise my answer to your earlier question, favorite part of the show,
Yep,
because we started this as a golf show,
we did.
which it is unashamedly so. But it's also a bit of a dudes helping dudes through life kind of a show.
Yeah, it is.
It's kind of cool. It's unexpected.
Mm.
Sort of that whole, how do you juggle all the things in your life and try and be as intentional and as present and as good as you can for all of those various elements which are important. Mm, mm.
Mm.
Something in that.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
The other point that I would like to make from Pete's feedback is this. So appreciate the feedback, Pete. Thank you. And the fact that it's Pete from New York, Andy Walker, I feel as though we finally made it there.
Of course, we've had one pilgrim from New York
It's quite a
reach
few
out to
actually that
us.
popping. There's quite a few that I've noticed that popping up from New York, but I'm certainly
Okay,
getting a
nice.
nice piece of feedback from New York, and yeah, I do feel like we've made it there, and I feel like that's a fair indicator, Andy Walker, that we could in fact make it anywhere.
Mm, yes, yes. It's big town and never
Mm,
been there. Would love to go there, but
the Big Apple. Well,
yeah,
actually, I don't know if Pete's from New York City or if he's from New York State. That's a fair point. There's a difference between the two.
yeah, yeah. I guess when you hear New York, you always think of the city, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, you well yeah, understand there is a New York State. When people talk about New York, it's always yeah the New York City.
Mm.
So yeah, interesting.
We don't know. Let us know, Pete. Where are you from? What's your
Mm.
nearest course? What's it like? Are there any courses on Manhattan Island? I don't know. Probably
Mm,
not.
I don't think so.
Geez, it'd be some expensive real estate if there were.
So what are the courses near New York? Is it is Shinnecock Hills near New York?
No. Pilgrims, help
Oh,
us out. Andy Walker's reaching for the phone. He's going to do some live
I am.
Googling here
I
during the
am.
podcast, which can only mean one thing. That is that I'm going to need to fill a little bit of extra time as he's Googling New York golf courses. Um, any famous golfers that come from the New York area? Anyone that you could name? Jordan Spieth's not from New York. He's more from Texas. I feel like I'm on my own here, Pilgrims.
Yeah, I've just
This is some champagne podcasting right here.
there is some champagne podcasting. Let me just have a look.
What do you got, Andy Walker?
No, there's
There's no golf courses on Manhattan Island.
the
There's Central
Manhattan
Park.
the Manhattan Golf Association.
Doesn't mean it's a golf course though.
No, it looks as though it's more five iron golf.
Five iron golf. You're only allowed to play with
Yeah,
one club.
apparently.
There's probably a few of your simulator type golf
That
bars,
that's what it looks like. It looks like there's
that kind of thing.
a number of yeah,
Maybe,
simulator type.
maybe we should go there and have a look, Andy Walker.
Well, I mean, you know, it'd be a research trip for the podcast, surely.
You'd think so. You'd think so. I feel like we need to move on from golf courses in New York.
Oh, yeah.
We could be here all night doing a geographical study of the United States. But the message is this, Pilgrims, is get in touch. Let us know what you think. If you've got questions, let us know. If you've got feedback, let us know. No pussyfooting around. Get straight to the point. We'd love to hear it. So that's the voice of the Pilgrims this week. Andy Walker, it's been another wet week, unfortunately,
It
in
has been.
downtown Australia.
It has been. Although it is clearing a little bit.
It is,
It's
but it didn't
still
clear in time for competitive golf to be played on Saturday, unfortunately.
no, no. And my home course was closed until yesterday.
Ooh.
So and today was a pretty busy work day, so I didn't manage to get out there today. I mean, Tuesday is my normal comp day. And we are without sort of dating the podcast. It is a Tuesday that we're recording, so
Mm.
yeah, didn't manage to get out today, but hopefully, well, I don't even know if next week is going to be. I'm probably going to do a bit of practice next week, but I don't know if I'll be able to get out. Week after that, though, bit of golf on. So
Which
looking forward to that.
we will get to that because that's an important topic that we need to talk about. I do have a round of golf coming up this coming Saturday.
Okay, nice.
I will be playing a competitive round, not tournament, just club comp. Um, Thoroughly looking forward to that because it will at that point be 3 weeks between competition rounds due to 2 weeks of washouts.
Right.
So it'll be good to get back out there. It'll be good to post around in May because at the moment we're sorely lacking in that department because all of
Mm,
our last rounds were in April. So in terms
yes.
of the yearly championship, we need to get some rounds in May, and I need to win just quietly. So I need to win, and I need to win handsomely
Mm,
because otherwise it's getting away.
yep.
So that is the plan. But practice wise, I've had a couple of I don't know if you call them breakthroughs, but certainly some moments, Andy Walker.
Okay. As in the high performance center or out on the course?
Yeah, no, no, high performance center. I haven't been able to get out on the course because of the weather and
Yeah.
various other issues. Now, I sent you earlier in the week, as in probably yesterday or the day before, a couple of photos of comparisons of
Yes.
my impact position
Yes.
and finish position from now versus early February.
Yep.
Um, and that has been showing the progress made based on some of the suggestions made by a friend of the show, Scotty Fisher.
Yes. And I have to say those photos, the old photos I thought were from probably 12 months or more ago. I didn't realize the dramatic change that you've actually made over the
Mm,
last few months.
nor
It's
did
pretty
I.
it's pretty impressive, to be honest with you.
It it surprised me actually because what was and Pilgrims, I will put the photos on the Facebook page so that you can have a bit of a look as well. The side by side comparisons. One's at impact and one's the finish position. And the point around it is about weight transference of getting to the front side. Um, and what that does is enables you, particularly, this is really about irons, of covering the ball, getting some compression and getting more consistent contact, and actually getting the weight transference through the ball, which will undoubtedly as well give not just consistency of strike, but better distance.
Yep.
So, and the funny thing is, it's not that outcome that I've been working on from Scotty's feedback. It was more around getting the takeaway right to get the club back on plane, but then starting the downswing with the lower body rather than with the arms and the upper body to try and get the sequencing right. And it really has led to a difference, like where my center of gravity moves at impact now is over the front foot, covering like sternum covering the golf ball, rather than still being somewhat behind it. And it looked a bit, I mean, sometimes those photos, because they're stills of video, so they can be a little bit misleading the way things move. But the finish position, because what Scotty initially picked up was that rock back onto the back foot, which he was saying was an indicator of not getting the full turn through the ball, which was an indicator of being a bit across the plane at the top and starting the downswing over the top with the hands rather than starting with the hips, etc. Um, so working on those things, geez, it's made a difference. But the other thing is,
Mm.
more importantly, I've really noticed the ball striking difference both in the high performance center, but also on the course.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
that's more important
and flight of the ball. You would have
for
seen a fair
sure.
bit of difference in the flight of your ball
Yeah.
because, and I saw your impact position, and when you get into that impact position, you're going to be able to flight the ball significantly better. And when you get into more challenging weather,
Mm.
that's where, if, most golfers really struggle when it comes to wind or, whether it be rain or whatever, if you're getting into that impact position more consistently, you're going to get a better flight, which means you're going to have better control over your golf shots.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so that was exciting because I kind of just thought I'd have a look at that for fun and see where things were. And I was amazed at the difference. So,
Mm.
Scotty, thanks for your help. Much appreciated. Things moving in the right direction. Hopefully, we'll see the scores continue to move in the right direction as a
Mm.
result. So
Yeah.
that was a big win. That
Yep.
was a really
Yep.
big win. Um, Not finished yet though, because there's a few things now sort of still working on just getting the wrist hinge in the right way at the top of the backswing, just to make sure that it's keeping the club on plane and not getting across the line at the top, which is a little bit of a tendency that I have historically had. Um, and the other thing that I've noticed, Andy Walk, interested in your thoughts on this, is at impact actually really focusing on striking out at the ball, um, as does a swing thought, rather than, and maybe that's because I'm trying to combat the not coming over the top at the start of the downswing. So that swing thought of sort of swinging out at the ball rather than straight down the line is maybe helping that swing path a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Look, I can see how that would work. I mean, the things that I'm trying to work on at the moment is trying to, because I've had the early extension for well, pretty much, all my golfing life. The
Mm,
early extension has plagued me. So trying to use my body a lot more rather than my arms, and getting through the ball. And as a result of getting through the ball, that extension automatically happens. Well, I find it automatically happens. So I find that I don't need to try to extend through the ball if I'm getting my body in the right position.
yeah. Which again, I guess it's one of those examples of different feel thoughts for different players working different
Mm.
ways.
Mm. What I am trying to do though, and this is more, well, this is on the backswing rather than the follow through, is I'm trying to get wider through
Yeah, 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 yeah.
backswing
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
on
yeah,
at the start of my downswing, trying to keep the width
yeah.
rather than sort of collapsing my arms coming down into the ball. So I'm finding again that and then again getting my left side, clearing my left side through the ball, I'm finding that that automatically creates width on my follow through. So
Mm,
I'm not necessarily intentionally trying to do it, but as a result, sort of what you were talking about previously, in that you're trying to get your backswing and the top of your backswing into the right position, and that's helping your impact position.
mm,
So similar sort of concept to that is that I'm finding that if I can get the width on my backswing and then at the start of my downswing and then clear my body through the ball, then that automatically will create the width that I need to on the follow through.
yep, that makes sense. So, an analogy on that one that I stumbled across in one of the many, many rabbit warrens of internet instruction, and Tiger Woods would advise me against this, but that's fine.
Yeah.
I actually think this piece of advice is not a bad one, and it's a feel thought. But if you imagine that you are standing in a line of people side by side, and you're passing a heavy medicine ball or a cement bag or whatever along that line, if you were going to be taking it from the person to one side, like your backswing side, you'd really reach across and then you'd really, you know, pass it across your body and be reaching it out a long
Yeah.
way in front. And
Mm,
it's that sort of that depth, that width of backswing and follow through so that you're not getting chicken wingy on the follow through as well. Just as a swing thought, which is,
mm.
in fact, I think that may have come from Sean Foley, that was Tiger's coach for a while.
Right.
Um,
Mm.
that piece of information, just sort of that
Okay.
really reaching out to, like, if you're reaching out to get something and then you're reaching
Mm.
out to pass it to the next person.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Well,
sort
the
of
chicken
that.
wing works for Jordan Spieth.
Does it though?
Yeah. Well, it has done. I
Yeah.
mean, still, I'd be happy with his golf game.
I would be okay with it. Yep. Yep. That would not be a problem. Certainly okay with the amount of money that he's made out of it.
Exactly. Happy with his bank
Be
balance.
okay. Yeah.
Mm.
Totally okay. So that's been the main thing. The other thing that I've been tinkering with, and this is putting related. Um,
Yep.
so I have ordered putting mirror after our
Oh
conversation with
yeah.
Michael Leonard.
Yep. Nice. Nice.
Yet to arrive. But
Mm.
what was interesting is I had the putting mat out, which has been fun. Getting into that once again now
Yep.
that daylight savings is finished. Had the
Mm.
putting mat out, and I felt like hitting putts, and these are about 3 meters, so about what's that, 9, 10 foot.
Yep.
On some of them, I've almost felt like I was block slicing them, as
Oh.
as as ridiculous as that sounds. So a few things were going on in my mind as a result of that. One of those being I've got a face balanced putter which is suited to a straight back and through stroke. And I think I've talked about this in a previous episode. I need to get a putter finish because I'm not convinced it's the right one.
Yep. Yep.
And then I was thinking, well, I'm I've got TaylorMade TP5X balls that I was putting with, and I've got some Pro V1s in the garage, but they're the radar capture ones, so they're not ones I'm
Yep.
going to use in games, but they feel the same. So I was playing with the two balls. Interestingly, I actually much preferred putting with the Pro V1
Yeah.
on the mat. So
Yeah.
that's a separate issue, but that's not what I'm talking about. Um, what I was then thinking is, I'm like, oh, this mirror thing would be interesting. But then I thought, well, Michael was also saying that you should have your eye line either straight over the ball or to the inside,
Correct.
not outside the ball.
Yes.
And I feel like I was a little bit outside the ball. So
Oh, right. Okay.
head a bit past the ball.
Yep.
So I tinkered around with having it deliberately inside, a little bit inside, not much, but just a little bit, sort of
So
standing slightly more upright,
how were you measuring that?
just by feel, like because I didn't have a mirror. So when the mirror turns up, it'd be interesting to check.
Do you know a good way to check?
Put a DVD down,
No. Grab a golf ball, put it
put it on
over
your
your
nose.
eyes, and just drop it.
Yeah, okay, give that a go.
Yeah.
Does it have
So
to be a
if
golf
you
ball? Could be something
well,
that's not
yeah,
going to
it
be as loud
doesn't
on the
yeah, it
floorboard.
doesn't have to be a golf ball, but that's how I always how I used to measure where my eyes were. For putting was I used to grab a
Yeah,
golf ball, just have it straight over the bridge of my nose, and just drop it
drop it.
and see where it lands, and that gives
Yeah,
you a good indication of whereabouts in relation to the ball that your eyes are.
mm. I will check it. Um, but the point that I was going to make is by making that change, geez, I was putting so much better,
Yeah, right. Yep.
so much straighter. Block slice disappeared. I mean,
Yep.
it sounds ridiculous to talk about block slicing a 10-foot putt, but it's like,
But you
but it
can,
wasn't
yeah,
that extreme.
absolutely.
It wasn't that extreme. But
100%.
the thing that spun me out is that, as we've talked about, I putt with the line, and I was still running the line straight up and down. It wasn't scrambling,
Yep.
but they were pushing left of the hole and turning
Mm.
further.
Yep.
But there wasn't any break on the ground because when I'd actually hit a proper one, it'd
Mm.
still roll straight.
Mm.
So it
Yeah.
had to be club face.
Well, one of the things that I struggled with for quite a long time is taking the club back closed, like the putter closed on the backswing, and that just a pull. That's the end
Yeah.
result. So you've got
Yeah.
to, in order to hit a straight putt, you've obviously got to then manipulate the face back to square.
Yeah.
But I found that rarely happened. Obviously, I've got the broomstick, which makes it a bit more difficult to try and manipulate the face. But yeah, for me, that's one of the keys that I've really had to work on, and I think that's one of the reasons why I'm putting so much better than what I was. Well, certainly since the start of this pilgrimage, and
Mm.
I've been able to get out and do a bit of practice with my putter and being able to take the putter face straight back and straight through, surprisingly, helps you sink more putts.
Who would have thought? Yeah, it's an interesting one though, because for me, I really want to get this sorted because, as you know, I fully believe that short game and putting is the key to success with golf improvement.
Well, I mean, look, it's very important.
Do we go there again?
Yeah.
No.
Well, I mean, I'll be seeing David McCollum in a couple of weeks, so I'll have a chat to him about it.
He needs to listen to that episode. He really does. I want to hear his opinion. He's going to love it. Um, but yeah, that's been really interesting. The other thing, just very quickly before, because we're going to move on to some of your tournament prep stories, but the other thing is a renewed vigor, renewed focus on nutrition and health and fitness,
Yeah.
which has been good. Um, so anyway,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, I need to take a leaf out of that book, to be honest with you. I
it
think
ebbs and flows. It ebbs
yeah,
and
there
flows.
was, I think it was, might have been just before the Macquarie Cup. I think when we were recording that episode leading up to it, I
You
had
dropped a few
actually
kilos.
dropped a few kilos, and I was feeling good. I'd been, working out, and felt pretty good in general. Well, yeah, that's all sort of came undone after the Macquarie Cup, after coming out to the Macquarie Cup and probably overindulging in
Mm,
few reds and
mm.
other things. Then Easter, then my son had a birthday.
On the
Then we
school
went
holidays, and
school
it was stacks
holidays.
on.
We went away over the sort of Anzac
Yeah.
Day. I took, so Anzac Day was the Thursday. I took the Friday off. That was my trip down to Mollymook. So there was lots of stuff that came up in that month after the Macquarie Cup, and yeah, just happened to stack those few kilos back on that I'd
Straight back
lost.
on.
So yeah, the
I'm
roller
hearing I'm
coaster
hearing you.
of weight.
Yeah, I
It's weight
know.
it's weight transfer, I feel.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess there's only so much mass in the universe, and we just
Mm,
share it around, don't we?
yeah,
So,
exactly. Exactly.
oh look, yeah. I mean, I reckon I kind of probably hit about the heaviest I've ever been around about that time as well, which was kind of what gave me the kick up the pants to
Yeah,
do
right.
something about it. So I've been pretty happy. I think I've dropped about 3 or 4 kilos in the last couple of
Okay,
weeks, so
good.
it's
Nice.
been good. Going in the
Mm,
right direction. Still got
yeah.
a way to go.
Yeah.
Um, to our American listeners, that is, what's that? It's about 8 or 9 pounds.
Yeah. So what's a pound? It's just over
2.2.
two.
It's
Yeah.
2.2.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, a kilo is 2.2
Yeah.
pounds.
Yeah. Kilo is 2.2
Yeah,
pounds. Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, it's been necessary, Andy Walker.
Yes.
I'll give you
Yes.
that
I,
much.
I, I need to start because I haven't lost 2 or 3 kilos in the last few weeks.
You will. You've got it in you. I mean, clearly you've got it in you. You don't want any.
At,
That's the problem.
at the moment, I've got it in me. Yes. That's the problem.
That is the issue. Speaking of having it in you, tournament prep.
Yes.
You've got it in you for a good performance in this upcoming New South Wales Senior Open qualifier.
Qualifying. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's been a bit interrupted with the wet weather. But I am playing in the Camden Seniors on the 27th of
Nice.
May, so a couple of weeks away. Um, Now the issue that I've got, and so I've got 4 events to qualify for the New South Wales Senior Open.
Yeah.
However, the 3 out of the 4 events, either I played the course a very, very long time ago and don't really remember it, or as in one, haven't played it at all. So there,
Mm,
there is one event, the 36-hole event at Newcastle and Horizons, where I've played them within the last couple of years. So I've got a pretty good memory of what the holes are. But Camden in a couple of weeks' time, I haven't played Camden for probably 30 odd years. And in that I've only played it once. So there was an event there, yeah, a long time ago that I played in. So I've just been trying to figure out how I'm going to approach it because I don't want to just rock up blind. I think that's not going to put myself in the best position.
you don't want to go in
Or-
blind. Absolutely.
No, no, and what I have been doing, I've been starting to work my way through the Wicked Smart Golf Academy, which
Yeah.
has
Good
been
idea.
really, really helpful. And Michael Leonard talks about he's got a couple of strategies for tournament prep, and the tactics that you should be employing to get to know a golf course a little bit better. So what I've been doing, I've jumped on Google Earth
Mm,
because with Google Earth, you can actually measure from point A to point B. So I,
yep.
I sent I sent David McCollum actually a text message to say, oh, what tees are we going to be playing off? And he said that we're playing off effectively the members Saturday tees. That's sort of what the seniors normally play off. So I've been taking
Right.
measurements
Okay.
and what my strategy should be off the tee, and where I should be hitting it into the fairway, and then how far I'm going to be from the green. Now, the good thing about Camden as well is on their website, they've actually got a flyover of each hole. So
Mm,
they've got drone footage where, you obviously start at the tee and you make your way down to the green. So not only have I got the Google Earth images and the measurements, I'm actually going through and I can see each hole, and I can understand what I'm going to be seeing when I'm on the tee. So it's been gold. Like it's been really good. And I feel as though
Yep.
that's going to, I mean, look, it's, there's still going to be like the subtleties of, breaks on the green and, those sorts of things I'm not going to be able to get a chance to have a look at before I get there. However, I feel as though I'm going to be in a much better position to be able to perform reasonably well with this sort of preparation. So the
Mm.
other thing as well is that I'm actually traveling down there with David. So I'll be able to
Nice.
get to have a bit of a chat to him on the way down and just, develop a bit of a plan, talk to him about what I've done and yeah, see if he's got any suggestions. So that's Camden. The challenge is going to be Carnarvon is the second one, which is June.
Mm.
I haven't found much footage with Carnarvon. I found a little bit of footage, but not a lot. And then Glenmore, which is in September. Glenmore, I've never played before, and I can't find any footage of
Yeah,
uh,
right.
of, of the course on YouTube. Now, I'm not going to get to any of the courses. That's going to be
Yep.
an issue. So I think with Carnarvon and Glenmore, I'm going to be relying a lot on Google Earth rather than on YouTube and footage
Yep.
of the holes. Whereas I feel as though I'm going to be a bit more prepared for Camden rather than the other two. So and Newcastle and Horizons, as I said, I know those courses. I've played there relatively recently, and I'm pretty comfortable just using Google Earth and knowing what to expect.
So I have questions.
Yep.
So the first question is say Camden, go through the flyovers, you do your Google Earth measurements. In tournament play, are you allowed to take notes in? Like, say if you've written out a plan where
Yeah,
you've
yeah, for
got your
sure,
holes and you go,
for sure.
hole number one, is 3 wood off
Mm.
or 4 wood,
Yeah,
in your case, off the
100%.
tee,
Well,
or
that's what the pros do. Like it's, the
yeah.
PGA tours they're allowed to do it. I mean, you're not
I
allowed
just remember there
to.
was there was one, I can't remember who it was, if it was Will Zalatoris or JT or someone that got pinged for notes in a green reading book or something like that they took into the round
Oh,
that they weren't allowed
yeah.
to.
So there was a green reading. So I do remember the PGA Tour, and I don't know the specifics around it, but I do remember that there was because they were given green reading books historically, for each course,
Yeah,
but then they banned them and they stopped using them. Um, so I don't know, perhaps, in that
I can't remember the
instance,
details of that. Be interesting. Um, because I mean, I think jotting the notes down of how you intend to play each of the holes is really good preparation. And
yeah.
then the challenge will be when you get up there and physically eyeball it, do you agree with the notes that you wrote? And how disciplined are you at sticking to the plan?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think I'm pretty disciplined at sticking to a plan. The question is
Feel
going to
like we
be
had quite a
is
large conversation about you and planning at some point
exactly.
recently.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, planning, no problem at all, and sticking to that. Don't have an issue with that. I think that I'm going to have a level of flexibility that if I stand on a tee and what I've got in my strategy notes doesn't fit what I see, then I'm going to have maybe a bit of
You
a
have to
plan
change.
B.
You
Yeah.
have to change because you've got to be committed to the shot that you want to play. And there's no
Yeah.
point standing up and going, "Ooh, I don't know." My other question that I was going to ask, and this is a bit out there, but is there an option of getting a local member as a caddy?
Maybe. I'm not sure to be honest with you.
And if
Yeah.
so, would you want to do that? Because
Yeah. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It's an option. Um, I'd have to think about that one. I'd have to mull
mm,
that over a little bit. Haven't really taken that into consideration. So yeah, hadn't thought about that one.
mm, just a bit of an out there idea.
Mm. I mean, if
Maybe
I knew if I knew a member, it would
that would help.
probably help.
That would help.
Um, but yeah, potentially.
Mm.
So, but anyway, the starting point I think is developing my own strategy, and then yeah, getting up on the course, and at least I'll then have an understanding of measurements and landing zones and how far it is to trouble. And yeah, so for instance, if I'm, I've got, a fairly wide fairway, but there's fairway bunkers down the right hand side on a hole, and it's into the wind, I'll obviously have to be, I'll need more club to be able to get it to the fairway bunkers.
Yeah,
So that will change my strategy a little bit. So I'll be able to take a longer club off the tee. So, those are and downwind obviously is the opposite. So those sorts of things I'm going to have to be flexible with. So you can't have it hard and fast. You've got to play the
yeah,
conditions of the day,
yeah, yeah.
but at least I'll have done a little bit of due diligence.
The other tricky thing in playing courses that you don't know, and that you haven't played before or haven't played often before, is um, a few things. Like one is knowing your lines off the tee.
Yep.
Because when you know a course well, like that's what you aim at. Particularly with dog legs, because
Yeah. And
that's where
and
you run out
blind shots
distances
as
and
well.
blind
Mm.
shots. Yeah, absolutely. But then the other part, which is probably as important, if not more so, is knowing where you can miss and where not to miss.
Yep.
Particularly coming into greens like certain greens where, and there's a couple I know at my home course. If you miss on the wrong side, you're dead.
Yeah.
Like you're no chance of getting up and down unless you literally
Yeah.
hit the flag stick and it drops.
Well, I
So
mean, these are the sort of things where I think strategy of mainly hitting into the middle of the green is going to help,
mm,
which is going to be, unless I've only got, wedge or less into the green, it's
yeah,
unlikely. And even then, if a pin is cut hard on one side, I'm probably not going to go directly for the pin. I'll
no,
probably, might go halfway in between the middle of the green and the flag stick, but I won't be going for the pin as such.
no,
Um,
absolutely,
but but apart from that, anything more than a wedge is going to be middle of the green for the
yeah,
vast majority of the
yeah.
time.
I mean, there's a few stories out there that float around, particularly with college teams in the US that I've heard about, and that you hear about when you're listening on the commentary, and they talk about exercises where the coaches will make them play 9 holes but remove all the flags,
All right. Okay. Yep.
so they don't have a flag, so they have nothing to aim at from the fairway
Actually,
other than the center of the
interestingly,
green.
because Michael Leonard was talking about that. He was, and I think it might have been in his academy. He says that he wishes sometimes that there were no flag sticks. That
Yeah,
flag sticks were just not there. You just have the green to aim for because people would have to aim at the middle of the
just aim at
green.
the green.
And he reckons that the average golfer and the average score would actually become better
Yeah,
just
yeah,
aiming at the middle of the green.
yeah, and it's incredibly hard to do because naturally it's a target, right? Like the flag's a target,
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah, for sure.
you're always going to go for it, and it impacts your club choice because front pin, back pin, etc. You're kind of clubbing for that, which you shouldn't do, like just club to the center of the green. But the story was, and it was on one of the recent tournaments. It might have been during the Wells Fargo, one of the commentators, or potentially the Byron Nelson before that. But one of the commentators was talking about it. The college coach from whichever um, college it was doing that, and um, his players were shooting on average 2 shots better for 9 holes with no
Yeah, wow.
flags. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
That's pretty amazing, isn't it?
yeah, and that's good quality players too. Like that's not not hacks by any standards. They're good quality
Mm,
players. But just stopping them, short siding themselves, and going for silly pins and those elements that you wouldn't do because you don't know where the hole is, so you're just shooting at the
mm.
center of the green.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because yeah, and one of the things I've thought about in strategy and how I should approach these courses that I'm not particularly familiar with is being. I feel as though in recent times I've become quite conservative in my strategy, and I mean we've talked a lot about
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Swing aggressively to conservative targets, and I feel like I've become a lot more conservative. But I feel as though that I should become even more conservative with with a course that I don't know that I'm not familiar with.
Um, so how would I respond to that? If I was going to be channeling probably a combination of people. When you're looking at some of the stuff that we've read from the likes of Four Foundations of Golf with Sherman, and even the decade system with Scott Fawcett. Um, a lot of the sort of research and a lot of the strokes gain numbers would suggest you be aggressive off the tee, unless I'm not talking about par threes, but like par four and par five.
Yep.
So you're always looking to hit driver unless there's a reason why you shouldn't. And that would be, like a penalty area that you're not going to reach with your fairway wood, but you will reach with your driver that is too dangerous. But all things being equal, always pull driver. And
Mhm.
I know you don't do that. So
Yeah,
that's
and well, a lot of the reason why
interesting.
I wasn't doing that is because I'd completely lost confidence with the old TaylorMade M3s, and they were
Times have
just,
changed now.
yeah, that they were just the wrong clubs. But I have been doing a bit of work in the high performance center with my driver, fairway, and the three utility irons. So I feel as though they're getting better and they feel quite good. So my feeling is I'm going to use those a lot more in my rounds in future rather than what I have been doing is was using the three driving iron off the tee in the vast majority of the cases just because I just didn't know where the TaylorMades were going.
Sure, sure. I still feel you pussyfooting around a little bit, because it's not about using driver or fairway or utility. It's like the theory is you use driver, and
Mm.
unless there is a compelling reason not to. Um, but
What what what
then,
what what about shooting two under? Is that a compelling reason?
I mean, when you talk about 18, you're coming up 18 and you pulled your three driving iron almost into the water anyway, which could have cost you.
But
So
it
I feel
didn't,
like
did it?
you got away with it there.
But it didn't, did it?
And then you still had to hit a 7 iron into the green. Whereas if you pulled driver,
No,
you're
it was
hitting
a
a wedge
six
in,
iron actually.
or 6 iron, even
Yeah.
worse. Pulled driver, you're hitting a wedge in. Probably would have holed it for eagle or something. So
Okay, I'll hold on to that. I'll
yeah,
hold on. I'll hold on to my two under.
yeah. Anyway, of course you will. You go to sleep with it every night. So
You betcha.
just quietly, I would too. You'd never hear the end
I
of it.
I dream of that round every night.
Yeah, yeah. You never hear the end of it. When I shoot two under pilgrims, we'll be renaming the show. The welcome to the Steve Shot two under golf show. Um, anyway, that's one element of sort of the theory. The other is then it's the opposite with approach shots into the greens. That's where the
Yep.
conservatism comes in. So
Mm.
aggressive off the tee, conservative at greens. Whereas theory goes, a lot of people um, you're not at risk of this, but say there's a lot of golfers out there who are too conservative off the tee, leaving themselves then longer shots to the green than they need to,
Yep.
and aren't necessarily hitting any more fairways anyway because you're statistically not that more accurate um, with your fairway wood than you are with your driver.
Yeah. I think
Uh,
it's like 3% or something, isn't it?
yeah, but it's a significant distance, and then so two or three clubs more at the green,
Yeah. Yep.
and
So
trying to be too
your
aggressive at the green.
effective strokes gained.
It's a loss. It's a
Yeah.
significant loss. Yeah. So the idea is at any given opportunity, you want to get the ball as close to the green as you possibly can, unless there is a compelling reason not to do so, which is, obviously a hazard in those situations. Same can be said for going for par fives in two. If you can, you should. And even if you're not going to get there, get it as close to the green as you possibly can, because
Mm.
you're going to be closer to the pin from 40 yards than you are from 80 or
Mm.
100 or 150.
Mm. Well, just in my initial research that I've done on Camden, I do feel as though most of the par fives I'm going to be able to be having a crack into if I take driver from the tee. So that will be the strategy.
Yeah.
And on a lot of the par fours, I feel as though they'll be within wedge distance of the greens. So again,
Yeah.
I feel as though I have seen a couple of holes where there's sort of dog legs and fairway bunkers where I might be a bit more conservative, but there's also a lot of holes where, they're within that range where, drive a wedge or less. So I
Mm,
do feel as though there's going to be some opportunities for scoring there.
mm. So you'll be driver wedge, Dave McClellan potentially driver 6 iron.
Oh, if he smokes one.
Hope you're listening, Dave. We love your work.
No, I have to say, because David, I mean, David's never, been a long ball striker, but certainly when I sort of started playing again quite regularly, and I don't know what driver he had, but it was quite an aged driver. He did get a Titleist TSR3, and the difference it made to him was just
Was huge.
frightening. Oh,
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
He went from being, maybe 40, 50 yards back to about 35.
Mm. Bit of modern technology never hurt anyone.
Yeah, no,
Um,
I've got a bit of a smile on my face when I say that. So that was tongue in cheek. No,
yeah.
he probably gained, I reckon, a good sort of 20 to 30 meters on his drive.
Yeah,
So
which is amazing.
yeah, when I was sort of getting a drive out there, and he would get a drive out there, he'd probably still be 20 meters behind me, but certainly a lot closer. And I was really
Yeah.
surprised actually a couple of times I played with him where I went, wow, okay, that's
Yeah.
good effort. But
Yeah, but
with modern technology,
now that you've got the TSR3,
yeah, it should be a
you'll be
different
back
different ball
out to
game.
that
Yeah,
50 meters in front. Yeah.
yeah.
Like for like equipment. Um, that's good. Any other thoughts on your tournament prep, Andy Walker?
Look, I have, because I've got the Arcos
Ooh,
software.
yeah.
And I have had a bit of a look at the Arcos software. That was sort of one that I thought may have been helpful. Now,
Mm,
Arcos have got they've got a functionality called the Arcos Caddy, where when you've used the system enough, it starts making suggestions from your data and from your strokes gained. So I downloaded Camden and put it in the Arcos Caddy to see what it recommended, and far too conservative. It was recommending on some holes like 4 iron off the tee.
mm.
And then there were just a couple of weird recommendations that I just looked at and went, yeah, no, I don't think so. Like there was another one where um, on a par five, it was recommending that I hit my utility iron off the tee, and then I changed it to driver. But then rather than dry, and it was like 206 meters, I think, to the flag, and rather than taking my utility iron or fairway again, it was recommending that I lay up with a 7 iron and hit a 58 into the green. And I'm just like, yeah, no, that's definitely not the strategy that I would go with. So I don't feel as though the Arcos Caddy was as good as I was hoping it to be,
Yeah.
which is why I sort of ditched it after not that long and went back to the Google Earth and the
Yeah.
measurements on Google Earth just to design my own strategy.
So we love the good people at Arcos, we really do. But I feel like they've potentially had a little bit of a swing and a miss with the naming of this product. For mine, calling something a caddy would make me hope that maybe it's going to carry my clubs.
more,
You know,
more so club recommendations,
yeah.
which quite
But
interestingly, you talk about something that I can't use during the round. I wouldn't be able to use the Arcos Caddy
no,
during
no, no,
a
you
during
wouldn't.
a competition
You
round.
wouldn't. But just to finish that thought, like what they've come up with is something that's just following you around, telling you what to do, and giving you
Yeah.
some bad information relating to golf. I don't know that caddy's the word I'd use.
Yeah. Look, and don't get me wrong. I mean, I love Arcos as a system.
Mm,
I love the information it gives me.
mm,
What it's shown me about my game and the strengths and weaknesses of my game, and sort of confirmed certain things, but surprised me in other things.
mm,
So, for instance, my distances with my irons. I'm pretty close with the distances with my irons, But driver, for instance, I actually hit it a bit longer than what I had anticipated that
Yeah, of course you do.
I would. So those sorts of things have been a bit of an eye opener. And as I said, I love the strokes gained. I love being able to go and look back and compare myself to a scratch handicapper. I love being able to track all that data, but yeah, I'm not convinced that the caddy side of it and the recommendations that they're giving me are going to be
Are
that
quite what you
helpful.
need.
Yeah.
And this is where I feel like shot scope has got one over Arcos.
Yeah. And you did mention that in our messaging. So I'd like to understand a little
Yeah.
bit more about what shot scope offers.
So it does have an option to do the strategy. You can go on you can load in a course and it can actually use like the Arcos Caddy and come up with suggestions of how to play holes. So there's that element. But the other thing that it does, which is manual, which I actually prefer, is you have a course preview setting and you can load in any course. So whatever course you're going to play, and you get the map from the Goodyear blimp up above it.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yep.
and it's got you go to all the holes and it's got from tee to green the distance, and then say it's par four or par five, you've got a little, so you've got the straight line from tee to green, and halfway along the line you've got the little dot in a circle which is
Yep.
indicating
Yep.
where you
Is
would
your
hit
landing
your,
zone. Yeah.
your tee shot to, and you can drag that up and down, move that around wherever you want
Oh
to
yeah. Nice.
calculate the distance. So with the data that you collect over time, you know how far you hit your clubs. You can put that to that distance of where you would hit your average driver,
Yep.
and then see how much you would have left into the green. You can change that distance for whatever. But the other thing which is really really useful of it is when you're looking down on holes where there is, say, a water hazard, or where there is a fairway bunker, or a narrowing of the fairway or something like that, you can move the little circle to those locations and get the distance, the exact distance to where those
Oh
hazards
yeah.
are and where those bunkers are, and,
Nice.
and all those things. So that I find super helpful on planning out how you're going to play a course. It
Mm.
is something that I've used. I actually even used it on my home course just to kind of have as an intellectual exercise, to go, if I was not going to use driver on a lot of the par fours, and if I was going to use one of the other clubs, like what sort of distance would I have left into greens, um, and what advantages or disadvantages of that strategy would that apply? And it's quite interesting when you look at it, because it's a way of testing out playing different clubs off the tee without actually physically going out there and doing it, and just seeing what the advantages of it. But definitely useful for playing a course you haven't played before. Really,
Mm.
really good.
Interesting, because there is, I did try um to do that with Arcos, and download the course and start a round, because you've got to start the round, and then go and have a look at each hole. But it was just without, of course I wasn't there at the course, it was just a bit glitchy. And every time I
Yeah, yeah,
try
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
put the circle in my landing zones, it would then sort of, reverse out of the screen and go back to all of my rounds. And I
yeah.
just, yeah, it was a little bit glitchy. So I was over that pretty quickly because of my huge level of patience, and just went
Yeah,
went back to
but
Google Earth.
in all honesty, like I'm happy to take some screenshots, like do one of the courses that you're going to play on ShotScope, and
Yep.
kind of use your driver distance, fairway distance, etc., and take some screenshots and send them through to you, and just to show you what that does, if that
Mm,
helps. Um,
mm.
'Cause like I say, I think it's amazing.
Yep.
It's a really, really cool feature. The only drawback
Yeah.
sometimes is you don't know exactly where the tee box is going to be that you're playing off, so that
Yes.
that
Yeah.
can throw things out just a little bit. But
Mm.
it's often not by a lot. It's not not many suburban courses have got tee boxes that are that significantly different.
Yeah. Yeah. See, at least with Google Earth, you can put your starting point and your end point
Yeah,
in, and get the
yeah.
exact distance between
You
those
can
two
move you
points.
can move the tee box on the ShotScope one as well, but
All right. Yep.
it's just knowing where it's going to be
Mm.
is
Mm.
the thing.
Okay.
If you know, it's fine, but if you don't know, then you don't know. So anyway, it's good prep. What about mental approach? Because we've talked a lot about your two under par.
Yep.
Or sorry, I got that wrong. You've talked a lot about your two under par, not so much we.
Yeah.
Um, what you haven't talked so much about was the performance at the Macquarie Cup last major tournament, where, let's be honest, Andy Walker, you battled.
Yeah, I did. However, I feel as though that I've made some pretty significant gains since then. It'll be interesting to see how it go because my good rounds have been at my home club, and yeah, granted, you can say, oh yeah, if you don't take your away game, you're never going to do any good in tournaments. But I think I mean, if you look back to the Missing Links Masters, I did bring a pretty good game to Mudgee. I have played enough golf now at different golf courses to be pretty confident that I can deal with different golf courses and different conditions. So one event, yeah, I'm not going to let that ruin myself mentally.
That's good. Um, as the very wise philosopher Mike Tyson once said, we talked about this in the Macquarie Cup.
We did.
Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
Yep.
How are you going to handle adversity should it show its head?
Look, I think it's just the same as the strategy that I've employed over the last 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. In firstly, acceptance,
Mm,
move on, realize once you hit a shot, you can't do anything about it. You've got to go find it and hit it again. The old Dustin Johnson approach
mm.
to golf.
DJ, love
Love
DJ.
DJ. And yeah, just be focused over every shot. Use my process. Use the strategies from Mental Golf Type. I've had had the opportunity now to do some work with Michael Leonard. He's got some great information that I can implement into my mental approach. So yeah, I think just that what I've been doing and the picking little bits from different strategies from different people. I think I'm in a much better and certainly a different place to what I was 6 weeks ago in the Macquarie Cup. And the big thing, the huge thing as well is the new driver, fairway, and utility iron. I mean, I think
Confidence level there is
that's made a
high.
huge difference.
Yeah. Now, just I'm trying to help you prepare here. Okay. So
Of course you are.
this it's all coming from a good place. So the thing with this, right? Like you're playing these tournaments in an attempt to qualify for the New South Wales Senior Open,
Correct.
and you've got to get what is it, top four,
Top two.
top two.
Yeah. So it's a stretch. I mean, I don't, it's certainly not something that I see as a given. In fact, the probabilities are probably, you know, quite low, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to shy away from it. So it's going
I wouldn't
in,
expect that you would.
yeah, it's
Would
going in with not having the expectation, but with the anticipation that there is the opportunity.
so that's good. All right, and that's setting expectations, which will help keep you even keeled and calm if you're coming 25th or 30th. Where this, because this essentially this attempting to qualify, this is very much external outcome based goal,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
which is what makes it hard in
Yeah.
tournaments. So, where I think, and this is something to think through, particularly thinking through the breakthrough that you had with your two under round. Now you've even got me talking about it, as opposed to the two attempts before it, which was under par and couldn't close the deal. Is you say you come into the 15th, 16th hole, and you are aware. I don't know if there's leaderboards around or whatever the case
No,
may be, but
there won't be.
you probably got a pretty good gist. Like say you're at that point you're two or three under, and you go, "I'm a chance here."
Yeah.
How do you deal with that as opposed to say dealing with the disappointment element of it? I think that's pretty easy, but it's the reality then because that's taking that coming back to focus on process so that you don't get ahead of yourself, staying in the moment, head where your feet are, etc. That's taking that to the next level under immense pressure
Yeah.
when you've got the possibility of actually succeeding.
Mm. Yeah, look, and I I think I go back to one of the things that Neil Smith said, and that is, you play 14, 15, 16 holes a certain way to get yourself to, whether it be even one under, two under, three under, whatever your score is. You're having a good round. You've had your strategy to get you there. Why would you change it? And that's something for me that, was a bit of a aha moment that I'd never really given much
Absolutely.
thought to before. So that's something that I've been working really hard on. Doesn't mean I've always succeeded, and probably won't always succeed in the future, but it's something at least now I'm aware of that I can work on, and that I can have top of mind is, if I get to that point where I'm a couple under or whatever the score is, that I knuckle down and continue to play that, swing aggressively to conservative targets. And that for me, that whole mindset has been a massive shift, and doing
Mm,
that right until the end, right until the last putt drops in the hole on 18.
mm. Well, Andy Walker, we wish you all the best. Um, and I think it's only right and proper that at the end of that tournament that the great man Dave McClellan comes back on the show and we hear about it from both of you.
Well, I might see if we can have a little bit of audio
Oh, that would
before
be
and
nice.
after,
That would be
a
nice.
la the Macquarie Cup.
Yeah.
Just seeing what his thoughts are beforehand, and yeah, a little bit of feedback afterwards, because in our messages, when I let him know that I was putting my entry into the Camden Seniors, he did say, "Oh, we might be able to get a game together. I think I know someone."
Mm, mhm. Excellent.
So I'm sort of half expecting to be able to be in the same group as David McCollins, which will be a really good first event, I think,
Mm.
to have, a great mate and mentor of mine in that group. So yeah, I think it's going to
Yeah,
be good.
that would be fantastic. Can't wait to hear all about it. Any other thoughts that you've got, Andy Walker, on tournament prep?
No, I think that's pretty much it at this point in time. I think that it's still a big learning curve at the moment, and while I've got a lot of experience, historical experience, it's a different setup now. It's a different, well, it's quite literally a different ball game than what it
Mm,
was back
mm.
then, and I have a completely different approach. So a lot of it is a steep learning curve, but I feel as though I've got a good grounding to be able to launch into a successful senior career.
What I really liked about that is at no point did you say back when I was playing seriously.
Mm. Yes, I've tried to eliminate that from my
Nice,
vernacular after your
nice,
feedback. Was it last
nice.
week you gave me that feedback? So
It was recently, last couple of weeks.
yes,
Yeah.
because I
So
am I am serious.
yeah, that's right. You are now playing
Playing seriously.
seriously.
Mm.
Yep.
Mm.
Fantastic. Andy Walker, best of luck. We thoroughly look forward to hearing about all of your adventures around Camden in, well, probably a couple of episodes' time.
Yeah,
Um, but we've got a few exciting things coming up in the next few episodes.
we do.
Are we in a position to talk about this at all, or
Well,
are
we've
we still
we've
under the veil of secrecy?
Oh, no, I think that certainly there's next week's episode we've got booked in,
Mm,
and we've got that scheduled. So that's a conversation with the Titleist club fitter, Jason
bring
Butt,
it
who's
on.
who's coming in to have a chat about all things club fitting. Really looking forward to that episode, because I had
Yes,
such a great experience with Jason, and his level of knowledge is just
that's awesome.
unbelievable. Like, it's out of this world. And not only that, not only the knowledge, it's the data that you get from TrackMan, and being able to put all the pieces together,
Mm,
and then
yeah,
come up with a solution and go, here you go, try that. And, you know, w- he didn't really give me a bad option. They were
Mm,
all good options. It's just what was the best option.
mm.
So he didn't give me
That's
a
awesome.
club and shaft combination and go, oh yeah, just have a hit of this. And I'd hit it and go, nah, that's not very good. It was all like, yeah, that's pretty good, but I think I'd prefer the previous one. Or yeah, this is pretty good, but if can we just tweak it this way?
Mm,
So then we'd tweak it this way and we'd get a better result. So there was a lot of those sorts of things which I was really, really impressed with and just had a ball. In fact, I'm really looking forward to taking it sort of the next step, and whether it be later this year or whenever that may be, and doing the same thing with my irons, because that'll be the next step up from the AP2s, which I have now, to perhaps I reckon the T150s is my next set of
probably
irons.
the go. Yeah. No, that's very cool. We can certainly nerd out on that one.
Yeah.
That will be a huge amount of fun. I can't wait to hear all about it. I'm really, really interested to hear what he's got to say about putter fittings, about wedge fittings, and also about ball fittings.
Yeah. Yeah.
So is a space I'm quite interested in as
Mm.
well. But I think for all the pilgrims out there that have been umming and ahhing about whether or not there are benefits for a club fitting, or even just wondering about what happens during a club fitting, because if you
Mm.
haven't gone and done it, you really don't know what
Yeah.
it's all about. It's a hell of a lot more than just measuring the distance from your wrist to the ground.
Yeah.
There's
100%. Yeah.
there's a lot more in it, and it is honestly, it's one of the most fun things that you can do. It's really really cool.
Mm. Mm.
And yeah, following that, we've got some other exciting guests, but we might save those bombshells for a future episode before we
Yes.
give all of our secrets away. But
Yes.
there's some
Yes.
cool stuff coming up.
But let's just say that that might be a very fast episode,
Ooh, I like it. Like it. I like
but
it.
not
That's good.
not in timing. It'll still be the same length of show,
Who knows?
but
Who knows?
it
Who
might
knows?
it might be
Care-
fast.
Careful, Andy Walker.
But that's something we haven't quite booked in as yet. We're
No,
very,
we're
very
close.
close.
We're
And
close.
yeah, if that comes off, I'm gonna be pumped for that interview.
Yeah, that'll be cool. And more to come. There's a lot more to come. We've got to hear all about Andy Walker's fantastic exploits at the Camden Senior Open. Calling it an open. I don't know if it is, but let's call it that. Yeah, and maybe get Dave McClellan back on the show. It depends on how the day goes, I suppose.
Yes. Yes. Oh, look, it'll be fun. One way or the other. The golf may not necessarily be the best, but yeah, it'll be a great day and a good first foray into the world of senior golf.
That's so good, though. It's what the show's about.
Yeah,
We're 30 episodes
absolutely.
in, finally getting closer to it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
The first event, dipping our toe in the water.
yeah, yeah, I can't wait. And I can't believe I sent this text message to Andy Walker, Pilgrims. I can't believe it. I said, I'm so jealous. I can't wait to just hurry up and turn 50.
I got a good laugh out of that. Yeah, got a good laugh out of that. It's not far
It's pretty
away.
good. No, no. I feel like the younger sibling, like when your older brother's going off to school and you're like, I
Yeah.
want to come too. Yeah, anyway, not allowed to. Too young, can't qualify
Yep.
next year. So anyway, Andy Walker, do us proud. Wear your Missing Links golf show hat with
I will.
pride.
Yes,
Um, Plenty of photos. Looking forward to
absolutely.
some Facebook reels and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
Speaking of which, pilgrims, we mentioned it before, but get on there and contact us. Let us know what's going on. If you haven't done so already, click the follow button, the auto download button. And what we would really, really appreciate is doing a bit of a review. If you're on iTunes, if you're on Spotify or your podcasting platform of choice, throw a review on there. It really does help get the message out to more people. And if you've got mates that are into golf that like listening to two round about 50-year-old blokes blar on about their own game, share the show. That's all I've got to say, Andy Walker. You got anything else that you want to cover? Any other messages for the pilgrims?
There's only one thing left to do. Mr. Hinks, and that is
What and
to
what is that?
rock out Pilgrims.
Aye, aye.